What happens when a bleeding man protects a wild predator from armed strangers in the woods? They thought he was crazy, until something no one expected turned everything upside down. Let me tell you something about solitude. It's peaceful until it's not. And in my case, it wasn't. I didn't come out to these woods looking for drama. Hell, I came here to let go of it. Just a man, a mutt, and a recycled wildlife cage with a half-conscious raccoon inside, all piled into the back of a rusted-out Ford that still smelled like regret and motor oil. I'm not what you'd call a saint, but I patch up what others toss aside. Lately, that includes roadkill that's not quite dead. That morning was colder than a banker's handshake, the kind that makes your breath feel like it's trying to run back into your lungs. The pine trees were coated in early frost, and the trail felt off, too still. Even the wind had the good sense to shut up. But there I was. Elijah Rose, former paramedic, full-time loner, amateur wildlife rehabber, unbuckling a cage door to let a limping raccoon back into a world that already tried to kill him once. "Don't screw it up this time, champ," I said, watching the little guy wobble out of the crate and disappear into the underbrush like he had rent due. Behind me, Bly, my dog Blizz, was whining. Not the "I'm bored" whine. No, this was his "something's watching us from a place it shouldn't be" tone. And let me be clear. When a dog like Blizz starts trembling, you don't question it. You listen. I turned. That's when I heard it, the crunch of dry leaves. Heavy, measured, not the fidgety skitter of a deer, not the bumbling flop of a bear. This was quieter, controlled, purposeful. I barely had time to whisper, "Easy, boy," before the forest exploded. Out of the trees, like liquid muscle covered in shadow, came a full-grown mountain lion. No warning, no sound, just pure ancient power, 10 feet away, mid-air, heading straight for us. Blizz barked once, not out of fear, but instinct. His leap intercepted her path, and they both tumbled into the brush like a living cyclone. And just like that, it was over. Silence again, but not the peaceful kind, the kind that sits in your chest and clutches your ribs. I ran. And I mean ran, found them 20 yards off the trail. Blizz was on his side, bleeding, unmoving. The Puma stood over him, chest heaving like bellows. Her mouth was red, not dripping but stained. Her eyes locked on mine, not wild, not panicked, focused, intentional. "I don't want to fight you," I said stupidly, like this was some backwoods therapy session. No reply, obviously. Just one step forward. That's when she lunged. And I didn't run, because by the time I processed what was happening, her teeth were already in my neck. No, not some horror movie gore fest. She didn't rip or tear. It was precise, controlled, like she was sending a message. She bit, just deep enough to make me feel the panic rise, then stopped. We both froze. For maybe 5 seconds, or 5 years, hard to tell. My pulse screamed in my ears, her breathing slowed, and then she pulled back, walked 3 steps away, limping, and that's when I saw it. Her back leg was shredded, a deep rust-colored wound barely scabbed over, torn tendons, exposed flesh, and embedded in it, no, clamped into it, was a piece of rusted metal, a trap. Some jerk's forgotten toy from another decade, now chewing into something that didn't deserve it. I dropped to my knees, not from blood loss, from realization. She hadn't come to attack, she'd come to survive. And I was the only idiot out there with hands, meds, and enough bad judgment to get close. I crawled to my pack, one hand on the zipper, eyes locked on her the whole time. She didn't flinch. Didn't growl, just watched, breathing heavy, bleeding slow. Out came the tranquilizer, and a prayer that I didn't screw this up. To be crystal clear, what happened next changed everything. You do not want to miss what came after this moment. Trust me. You ever tried to jab a 5-inch needle into a wild animal with jaws strong enough to snap your femur? No? Well, lucky you. I'd done it before, on raccoons, foxes, a terrified deer once, but never while bleeding from the neck with my dog unconscious and a mountain lion watching my every move like I owed her money. I slid the needle into her thigh. Not deep, just enough. Her body tensed. She let out a low guttural sound like a growl smothered in exhaustion. But she didn't swipe, didn't flinch, and then she dropped. Not hard, like she'd been waiting for permission to rest. Now I had 10 minutes max before she either woke up or slipped into a coma. No pressure, right? First, I checked Blizz, still breathing. Chest rising, barely. A deep tear near the ribs. Blood everywhere, but not pulsing, not arterial. He had a chance if I moved fast. Then the Puma. That leg wasn't just torn up. It was a slow-motion death sentence. Infection, rot, muscle loss. And some genius had left a spring trap so old it still had metal teeth. I mean, really? In what century is that still okay? I popped the hinges with a rock, took everything I had not to scream from the smell. The wound beneath it was blackened at the edges. I flushed it with iodine. She twitched. Her eye flicked open for a second, then closed again. That's when I heard the crunch of leaves behind me. Not the wind. Not a squirrel. Boots. I turned and saw 2 men coming out of the trees. The kind that don't wear uniforms but walk like they think they own the whole damn forest. One had a scoped rifle. The other had a look I've seen in ER waiting rooms. Not curiosity, not concern, something colder. You tagged that cat? The taller one asked, jerking his chin toward her. No, I said. She's injured. I'm helping her. He laughed like I'd just announced I was teaching calculus to deer. You helping it? Why? The other said. That thing ain't a pet. You're not supposed to interfere with predators out here. Park rule. I didn't reply right away. Not because I didn't have something to say. Trust me, I had plenty. But because I was focused on Blizz. Still breathing, still bleeding. Finally, I looked up and said, You ever see something dying slow? Something proud? You ever look it in the eye and do nothing? The taller one stepped closer. That cat's a killer, man. There's tags on her. Rancher's been reporting livestock missing. Might even have a price on her. I stood up. My shirt was half covered in blood, my voice ragged, and I probably looked like something that crawled out of a bear's stomach. She didn't attack me, I said. She was dying. She came here limping, dragging a rusted trap someone left behind. She bit me because she didn't know if I was friend or just another threat. He raised his rifle. And now she's your problem, he muttered. Oh no. Number not today. She's not a problem, I said. She's a victim. That word, victim, made them both roll their eyes so hard I thought they'd fall backward. You could tell these guys weren't hunters. Real hunters respect the land. They learn its rhythms. They take only what they need. These guys? They were here to feel power. And they didn't like seeing it in someone else, especially someone bleeding out of the neck who still had the audacity to stand tall. I got a ranger buddy, the taller one said. You don't move, we call this in. Could charge you for interfering with wildlife. That's when I did something reckless, maybe stupid, maybe brave. You decide. I turned my back on them and picked up Blizz. This is it. We're at the edge. Everything that matters, it's about to come crashing down. You've come this far. Don't miss what happens when lines get crossed and someone finally pushes back. Let me paint this for you. I'm standing in the middle of nowhere with a half-conscious mountain lion at my feet, a bleeding dog in my arms, and 2 guys with a rifle acting like they're starring in some dusty outlaw fantasy. I had no backup. No radio, no cell signal, just the growing certainty that if I didn't move fast, one or both of these animals wouldn't make it out of those woods alive. Put the dog down, the man with the rifle barked. I didn't even flinch. Blizz whimpered against my chest, barely awake, ribs pulsing weakly. That sound? That was all the permission I needed. No, I said, turning slowly. He's coming with me. They looked at each other like I'd just insulted their truck and their grandmother in the same breath. You got no right, the taller one snapped. You're interfering with wildlife and violating public land protocol. Funny, I said, because I don't remember public land including illegal bear traps left out to rot for decades. She didn't do anything wrong. You did. He stepped forward, hand tightening on the stock of his rifle, not aiming yet, but close, too close. She's dangerous. That thing could kill a child. I looked down at the Puma, still unconscious, blood drying on her paw like a flag no one saluted. Her chest rose and fell, slow and steady. She wasn't dangerous. She was broken, and they knew it. You mean she could've, I said. But she didn't. You know why? Because when it mattered, she chose not to. That landed, harder than I expected. They hesitated, and that's when I heard it. The sound of a car engine crunching through gravel. Then another. Turns out, when I dropped a flare on the roadside trail marker, old emergency habit, someone did notice. A silver Forest Service truck rolled up first, then a beat-up SUV with a wildlife rescue logo on the door. 2 rangers, 1 wildlife vet, all of them stepping out with purpose. The 2 guys with the rifle froze. You could see the confidence deflate like a leaky balloon. The vet, Doctor Harlan, I read later, took one look at the lion, then at me, and without hesitation dropped to her knees with a medical kit. Jesus, you kept her alive like this, she whispered. She's in shock. Trap was still on her leg, I said. I got it off, cleaned what I could. You saved her, she said, and him. One of the rangers turned to the rifle guy. That your trap out there? Silence, then. Don't know what you're talking about. Yeah, sure. They didn't get arrested. Life's rarely that neat. But they did get cited, fined, put on a list, their gear confiscated, and most importantly, they got seen by people who weren't going to forget. But none of that was what hit me hardest. It was the moment they started carrying her, the Puma, into the back of the vet truck. She was weak, barely able to lift her head, but as they loaded her onto a stretcher, her eyes opened and locked onto mine. No panic, no fear, recognition. She blinked, once, slow. It was the strangest thing, a kind of thank you that didn't need words. A living creature who could have ended me, choosing instead to trust, to hold back, to give me the chance to choose who I really was. I'm not the same man I was when I stepped into those woods, and not because of the scar on my neck, though I've got one now, and yeah, it turns heads at the gas station. It's because I met something wild, something hurt, something everyone else had already decided was a threat, and I didn't turn away. Blizz made it. Took 3 surgeries and more antibiotics than a horse barn, but he pulled through. We still hike those woods, but now there's a plaque on that trail. For the wild ones who still believe in mercy. I didn't put it there, but someone did. And sometimes, when the wind's quiet and the trees hold their breath, I swear I hear a soft growl far off in the distance. Watching, still choosing not to bite. Some stories end with a bang. This one ended with a choice, and a reminder that sometimes the wildest thing a creature can do is show mercy.